This story happened to me in August. I'm a young married man, but I've always wanted to be with an older woman, one who was still moderately well-fed. I had one particular woman in mind, but there was a catch. It was my mother-in-law. There was something about her that just drew me in, and she was everything I liked. On top of that, my father-in-law drank constantly, and it was obvious that their relationship had been falling apart for years. I often imagined what it would be like to be with someone like her, someone with maturity and experience and a need for affection. One day I went over to her house. I knocked, and when she opened the door, my heart pounded so hard, I thought it would jump out of my chest. She looked so beautiful. Her hair was slightly disheveled and her eyes were warm and welcoming. She invited me in and started setting the table, making small talk as she went. We sat down at the table and drank a little, a couple of glasses. Gradually, the conversation became more explicit, touching on the subject of relationships between men and women. My mother-in-law, Elaine, began to open up. She talked about her husband passing out drunkenly in the next room as usual, and how she felt neglected by his attention. She spoke with sadness, and I could hear the pain in her voice. "The honeymoon doesn't last forever," she said, and it had been a long time since she had felt such love and affection. As she spoke, I felt my heart breaking. She was such a wonderful woman, and it hurt me to see her feel so alone and unappreciated. I realized that I had to be honest with Elaine. Perhaps I could help us both. After all, we weren't strangers to each other. So I took her into another room, away from the empty bottles and memories of neglect, and we continued talking. I confessed that I'd been in love with her for a long time and suggested that we could help each other. I told her how much I admired her, how much I wanted to be near her. I promised her that I would never tell anyone, and that her reputation meant more to me than my own. She hesitated at first, her eyes searching mine for any hint of insincerity. I could see that she was torn, struggling with her feelings and sense of right and wrong. But eventually she gave in. Her husband was asleep in the next room, but in his drunken state he could hear nothing. At that moment it seemed to me that the whole world had disappeared, leaving only the two of us, bound together by a common need for affection and understanding. From then on, Elaine and I became close. We had moments when we were together, moments full of passion and tenderness. We ignored those around us and found comfort in each other's arms. We were careful, skillfully hiding our relationship from everyone. We knew we were taking a risk, but we felt it was right and we couldn't let each other go. We continued to see each other for several months, and each time was just as eventful as the last. But one day my wife told me she was pregnant. I remember how her eyes lit up when she shared the news, and I realized that things were about to change. A short time later, we went to the hospital and found out it was a boy. My joy was boundless. I couldn't stop smiling and felt a sense of purpose that I had never experienced before. It was at that moment that I realized that my life was going to take a different path. Elaine realized we had gone far enough and told me it was time to stop. She looked at me with tears in her eyes, and I could see that she, like me, was having a hard time. She told me that I was going to be a father soon, and that I needed to devote myself fully to my family. We decided not to push our luck any further. It was a bittersweet decision, but we both knew it was the right thing to do. We hugged one last time and then let each other go. It's been almost 5 years since then. I spend time playing with my son Andrew, watching him grow and learning about the world through his eyes. He has brought so much joy into my life, and in all these years I have never cheated on my wife. Elaine and I have remained good friends, and how could we not? We share a secret that no one knows about, and a bond that will always exist. Whenever we see each other at family gatherings, there is a warmth between us, a tacit acknowledgement of what we once shared. We have both passed away, but the memories remain tucked away in the corner of our hearts. And though we will never speak of it, we both know that for a brief moment we were everything to each other.